Good evening from New York. If you believe that your lone surefire way to protect your health insurance would be to go work for a giant health insurance company, sorry. WellPoint, the nation's largest health insurance company, announcing that besides layoffs, it will be raising premiums and deductibles for some health benefits of its employees. But WellPoint is holding firm on one point. It wants an 18.5% rate hike on policyholders in Maine, and since the state has blocked that, WellPoint is now suing Maine. Our fifth story in the countdown, the Senate and the White House would trust health insurance companies to police themselves in fixing their own ailing industry. Why? President Obama welcoming 150 doctors, each clad in their white coats, representing every one of the 50 states, to the Rose Garden this morning. A recent NPR poll of doctors at Mount Sinai School of Medicine in New York showing that 63% of them give patients a choice, favor giving patients a choice that would include both public and private insurance. Another 10% of those doctors saying they would like a single-payer public system, Medicare for everybody. The president saying they are the professionals who have the most credibility on this issue.
We have listened to every charge and every countercharge, from the crazy claims about death panels to misleading warnings about a government takeover of our health care system. But when you cut through all the noise and all the distractions that are out there, I think what's most telling is that some of the people who are most supportive of reform are the very medical professionals who know the health care system best, the doctors and nurses of America. Every one of you here today took an oath when you entered the medical profession. It was not an oath that you would spend a lot of time on the phone with insurance companies. It was not an oath that you would have to turn away patients who you know could use your help. You did not devote your lives to be bean counters or paper pushers. You took an oath so that you could heal people. You did it so you could save lives.
Senate Republicans claiming that not all medical professionals support the president on this issue. Senator Barrasso of Wyoming, an orthopedic surgeon, saying that many doctors and nurses are greatly alarmed at proposed cuts in Medicare. Others who act like Republicans, who still call themselves Democrats, Senator Blanche Lincoln, for instance, telling Roll Call that she's all for a public option so long as it is not a public option, ostensibly so she can sell it back home in Arkansas. Her quotes, "I'm not supportive of a government-run and government-supported public option." That would be the definition of a public option. She adds, it's got to be competitive. It's got to create choice for people. Choice is option. Last month, 55% of those people in her state surveyed by Research 2000 for Daily Kos in favor of a public option. Senator Lincoln, one of 3 Democrats who have voted against the public option on the Finance Committee. Senator Lincoln, Chairman Baucus, the rest of the committee, supposed to vote on its health care bill tomorrow. Now it's looking like that might not happen until next week because the Congressional Budget Office is not expected to complete its assessment of whether the bill would add to the deficit until the end of this week. Why put off only until tomorrow what you can delay until next week? More on the doctor's White House call in a moment. First, we'll turn to Howard Fineman, senior Washington correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Howard, good evening.
Hi, Keith.
The president said he would not sign a bill that was not budget neutral at minimum. What happens if the Congressional Budget Office comes back and says, wait a minute, this piece of legislation is going to cost money? Where will this process be then?
Well, first let's explain why that might happen, and I think it might happen. It's because the Finance Committee bill, the Baucus bill, doesn't really have the employer mandate in it, doesn't have the public option, which means it wouldn't cover nearly as many people as some of the other bills would. So in order to make sure that the bill would cover more people, there's more spending there, there are more subsidies in there, there are more tax breaks for people, there are more ways to encourage people who can't pay to get the coverage they're required to get it. That may be costly, and that may cost more than the Baucus committee estimated. I'm told by Senate Democratic leaders that I talked to that there's some, quote, wiggle room in the Baucus bill. But what that might mean is after they get the CBO number back, if it isn't a number they like, you get yet another chance for even more delay.
And speaking of wiggle room, there's wiggle room on the other end. The Los Angeles Times reported today that the president's trying to shore up support for some form of a public option. If you put that together with the Lincolnian definition of a public option out of Arkansas, are we still talking about something that we've titled public option but has neither public in it nor offers any choice?
I think that's possible. It's not likely. As a matter of fact, probably required in order for there to be a final bill. What I'm told, I talked to two Democratic senators just a little while ago. What they told me is they're looking at a state-by-state option for a public option. In other words, it would be up to individual states, and there might even be a trigger built in. We're back to triggers. So you have a trigger with a state-by-state option that might be watered down even further. The trick of this whole thing is going to be to water the public option down enough to make sure that this thing can pass the Senate at some point, because everybody who counts votes says that it's a very difficult thing to get every Democratic senator, including Blanche Lincoln and some others, to vote for it if it has a real public option in it.
Yes, Lord knows it's more important to pass a bill than to have anything in the bill.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing with the doctors in the Rose Garden this morning, was that the president trying to frame the message ahead of this next critical phase of this debate, which really would be pretty much a first for the president and his supporters on this side of the equation?
Yeah, yes, I think he's trying to get out ahead. Whether this is necessarily the right way to do it, you know, it certainly doesn't hurt to be surrounded by doctors. They still have very high approval rating overall. But people are pretty sophisticated and know that a lot of doctors are part of the healthcare systems that are both the solution and the problem to some extent. So it's a little more complicated than that. I think what the president needs to do is not another photo op. He needs to get out there and he needs to publicly twist some arms and to say more definitively what he wants. He's still not doing that.
But of course, when you see doctors en masse like that endorsing something, the old commercial comes up. 3 out of 4 doctors.
3 out of 4 doctors.
Well, but 3 out of 4 doctors are for either the public option or the stronger thing, which is single payer. Health insurance companies right now proving at the time of the debate they can't be trusted to police themselves. They're cutting the benefits to their own employees. Why am I cynical about the ability of these facts to break through all of this noise?
Well, because, as I said, the president, I don't think has been sharp enough. I don't think he's been definitive enough. I don't think he's been public enough in what he really wants. There's all this talk about how they're going around behind the scenes pushing the public option. Look, if he really wants it, he needs to say it more directly, have the doctor standing behind him if he's going to do it. You know, his personal physician back in Chicago is somebody who is very much in favor of the public option. You don't hear anything from that guy. You know, he's not, I don't even know if he was in the Rose Garden today. Probably not.
It's doctor-patient privilege or patient-doctor privilege.
Exactly.
Howard Fineman of MSNBC and Newsweek. As always, thank you, Howard.
Thank you, Keith.